Are you unsure of when that derogatory account that you have on your credit report is actually going to be sent over to a collection company? You may have received a letter from the original creditor saying that they're going to send it over to a collection company, but you're unsure of when that actually is going to happen. You don't know how it's going to affect your credit. And furthermore, you don't even know what you're supposed to be doing to try to fix the situation. We're going to cover all of this in this video, and we're going to cover a few topics to hopefully help you out in your situation. So again, a lot of how this works depends on the bank that you're dealing with. Some banks choose to have an internal collection company within their company or within their bank, and some choose to go externally, whether that's contracting or completely selling that debt over to a collection company. And this can confuse a lot of people because depending on how they operate, is going to completely change the way you need to be handling the situation. So, for example, let's just say we have a bank, okay? It may not make sense for them to have a internal collection company within their bank. And the reason why is because they would need to hire a full team specialized just in this situation on recovering the debt, following up on the debt, handling client services on the debt, all of these different things. That's a whole different sector within the business. So a lot of banks choose not to take this route because it could be expensive and it could be a waste of time, right? So a lot of times they feel it's better to just outsource this service, whether that's by contracting or by completely selling the debt and ridding themselves of the hassle. Okay. So it's important that you understand how is it that your bank is going to operate, because depending on how they operate, it is going to affect your credit differently. So for example, let's just say we had a CIBC credit card, okay? And we went derogatory on that credit card. They may not sell that debt. They may have an internal team. They may call themselves something different, but they may be internal within CIBC. They may be able to transfer you over. Let's say when you call CIBC customer service, they may be able to transfer you over to their collection department. But if they don't have an internal team, if your bank doesn't have an internal team, they may just give you the information to contact that collection company that they're working with. Okay, that's a good indicator to know that we know that it's external from that bank. Now, if it's been contracted out, then that debt isn't truly sold over to the collection company, meaning a few things. One, we won't truly see that account in the collection section. What we will see is that the original account has been marked as a collection account. This does not mean that it's a true collection account. It just means that it's in collections. There's a difference between in collections and being sold to a collection company. In collections, is typically just a charged off account written off as a tax write off. You may see this in the notes if you have a derogatory account. But when it is sold to an outside company, let's just say a DCA or one of those common collection companies, then that is when you see it in the collection section of your credit report. What happens in this situation is that all the rights have been sold over to this third party company. So let's just go back to the example of CIBC. If CIBC were to sell this debt to collection company ABC, they are now sending all the rights over to this third party collection company, meaning CIBC is no longer going to be contacting you about this debt. They're not going to be calling you about the debt. They don't care about the debt. They sold the debt, the rights over to this third party collection company. It is now going to be this third party collection company contacting you, calling you about this debt. So there's a huge difference. And we handle these two different these two situations completely different. If the debt is still with the original creditor, CIBC, and not has been sold to a collection company, we should be trying to work with CIBC to resolve the situation. But before we even get to this point, we need to understand when is it actually going to be sent over to collections? Because you may be able to save yourself all this hassle. Everything you just heard me say, as far as it could be confusing, it could be intimidating, but you can actually avoid all of this. Now, it typically, and when I say typically, I'm talking about our top five banks in Canada. Usually with these banks, they don't send these accounts over to collections until around 6 months of you not making payments. And that could be either back to back consecutively 6 months or sporadically throughout a year, right? It doesn't always need to be back to back or consecutively of you missing 6 months worth of late payments. Now, there's a lot of confusion on how late payments get reported. It's important that you understand how that works. Let's just say your payment due date is on the 20th of November, okay? And now it's the 21st and you still haven't made the payment. That does not mean that a late payment is going to be remarked on your credit report right away. Typically, your bank is going to give you 30 days. You're going to usually have around a 28 to 38-day window between before they actually report that over to the credit bureau. Now, usually within this time, they're trying to contact you, they're trying to call you before they actually report the late payment. Your bank does not want you to go derogatory. They want you to have a great relationship with them. And the reason why is because, again, they're going to be making money off the interest. They can offer you more products, and then they can kind of weave you in a little bit further into their system, right? So they want to help you. They want you to make on time payments. So they're going to call you. So I never give someone the excuse of, hey, this magically ended up in collections, especially if it's one of the bigger banks. This magically ended up in collections and I had no clue about it. Because these banks, they do everything they can to try to contact you. They may call you every single day, probably not every single day, but they may call you fairly frequently. They may send you emails, they may send you text messages, they may they may send you letters in the mail. They're going to try everything they can to notify you about this situation, especially before it goes to collections. So let's talk about that. Again, earlier in the video, I said usually around 6 months of you not making payments, they're going to send that over to a collection company. That's 6 months of them trying to contact you before they actually send it over to a collection company. You're you're making a situation worse by trying to ignore them contacting you. And we're not talking about paying that credit card, that loan off in full. We're talking about you making the minimum payment just to save yourself this account being closed and being sold over to a collection company or being put into the collection department. Because when that account is closed, you can no longer reopen that account. You've completely cut ties with your bank. You completely ruined your relationship with that bank. And once you do this, it's extremely hard to get back in the good graces of the bank, right? Um, Once you do that, it's extremely difficult. And then on top of that, we don't want to have to be dealing with getting phone calls every day from a collection company. You may say, hey, I'm okay with it. I can deal with it. But for some people, that's not okay. A lot of people don't want to deal with these things. So, if anything, try to communicate with your bank, let them know your situation. You may be able, the earlier, the better. You may be able to resolve things before it gets to the point to where they're telling you that they're going to send it to a collection company. But in the event that they do send it to a collection company, like we said earlier in the video, you need to understand how it's being structured. Is it internal? So, does the original bank have an internal collection department that's holding the debt, meaning that it's not going to be sold in most situations? Is it being contracted to a third party collection company? Even in this situation, the bank is not selling the rights over to that collection company. They're just using the collection company's employees, and maybe that collection company might get a cut once they are successful in recouping the debt. Okay. Lastly, did they sell that collection account over to the collection company? This is where we see the collection account show up in the collection section of your credit report, this third option, when they completely sell all the rights over and now we see it in the collection company. This here is handled completely different. Because what happens here is now the original bank, like I said earlier, is no longer going to be contacting us. It's only going to be the collection company. And so now we have to go through the whole process of making them provide us with proof of debt because we want to ensure that we're working with the actual collection company that owns the debt. And if they do have proof of debt, then you want to negotiate pay for deletion. And it sounds very streamlined, but it could be a long process. It could be a lot of back and forth between you, the credit bureaus, the collection company. It's a long process. So again, you can avoid all of this if you know how the system works. Okay. So again, to answer the main premise of this video, accounts typically go to collections within 6 months. So if you know you have an account on the verge of this situation and you've been ignoring your creditors, my best advice to you is to contact your bank, communicate with them, try to work something out. At worst situation, you make a minimum payment. Usually the minimum payment is around 10% of what the balance is. Most people can handle that. You create a budget, you snowball debt that thing. If you don't know how to snowball debt budget, uh, look it up, YouTube it. You should be able to find there's plenty of videos. I've made videos in the past about it. But you need to work towards keeping your relationships because you never know when you're going to need credit, when you need a mortgage, when you need an auto loan, when you need another credit card, whatever it may be. But you have to be responsible because the onus is on you. Only you can take responsibility. The banks are not going to care about your story. Hopefully, this video was helpful to you. If you need help with your credit, you can send us an email, info@kennyjohnsonuniversity.com. And until next time, peace.